Welcome to the commentary booth where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play by play commentator Jamie Epps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week, though, we're once again doing something a little bit different as we chat about a theatre production that has turned into a movie and back again. Today I'm joined by a singer and musical theatre actor who is set to grace the stage of the Sydney Opera House as she returns to her role of Vanessa from Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights. During our conversation with Olivia, we chat about her history with In the Heights, her experiences with the film, and her experiences leading up to the July-August season of In the Heights, as I mentioned, at the Sydney Opera House. So, without any further ado, let's dive into the interview. Welcome to the show, Olivia Vásquez.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So we're here today to chat about your history with In the Heights and your experiences leading up to the July-August season of the show. Before we dive into all of that, though, I'd like to get to know a little bit more about your film and TV tastes, since that's kind of what the commentary booth typically focuses on. What would you say are your favorite movie and TV shows?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one for me. I kind of watch what what I feel on the day, and that can change often. But I find myself really going, just like picking the options of like a thriller or something with like I love a strong female point of view who just will stop it at nothing to get justice. I recently watched the latest Jessica Alba movie, and she hasn't done acting in quite some time.
The one on Netflix?
Yeah, the one on Netflix. Yeah, I was like, great, let's watch this. I'm a huge fan of Jessica Alba, and I just watched it, being like, okay, cool. Let's just let my partner and I put it on, and it was just like go go go. She's doing her stunts. It's just I love a justice seeking point of view and like a thrill seeker. Like I feel like maybe if I wasn't an actor, I'd be a detective. Just try and get, the baddies out.
Awesome. And is that just because that's like something that is ingrained in you, or is that like because you feel that way yourself, so you connect with those movies?
Yeah, I would say I definitely feel like that way about myself, about justice, about being treated fairly, and just as a human, as an actor. You know, Acting is like one of the most compassionate roles and jobs, and I feel like putting myself into another person's shoes is a gift to be able to do and see the world through someone else's eyes. So I feel like I'm able to live vicariously through them and help people who are voiceless or don't have the opportunity to fight. So I feel I grew up surrounded by many strong females, especially my mum. She is one of the hardest working people that I know, and will do anything for her family. And so I think that is definitely instilled in me.
Okay. So then you're a multifaceted creative person. You've got music, theatre, acting. A lot of people might recognize you from The Voice, where you were on Team Jess Mauboy in season 10. How was that experience?
Yes, it was awesome. It was my first time doing TV show and a reality TV show. So of course they're very different. But it was awesome. It was so great. I was so nervous. And I get nervous, but like I was like
It's a different
shaking
level of
before
nerves.
different level of nerves because it was live television. Even though it was pre-recorded, you don't go, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Can I just start again?" It's or like take two. It's like you've got the audience there, you've got everyone going. You're going, "Okay, you're ready, on the mark." You walk out, and so that's all real. So I was so nervous, but I practiced the song so much for months before, or weeks, however long I had it can't quite remember, but so it was like ingrained in my body and my voice. So I knew wherever I was at, I was able to execute the song to the best of my ability that day. So I was like, come on, Jesus, please just let the voce do its thing. But I was very nervous. But once it was done, I was sort of, and then they asked you questions and things. I just don't quite remember that part of it. I just remember being like, wow, like I did this, and 4 judges turned around. I didn't expect it. I was like, oh, okay, like let's hope for 1. Like, that's cool. But 4, I was like, wow, okay, this is a bit of an outside physical experience. And my partner was there, my mum was there, so they were so nervous for me, and I could feel their nerves radiating off
Maybe
there. And I
that
thought,
didn't
well, I
help.
no, it's like I needed the support, but I was like, okay, I can't. But yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I don't know if I'd jump at doing something like that again because it was so nerve wracking, and the hours we were there super early, which is what it is in TV and film. But because we're singing, it's like not enough sleep really can take its toll on the voice. Well, for me anyway. So, but yeah, I feel like tick, I've done it. Great.
Did you take a lot from that experience that you now can sort of employ in the musical theatre life?
Definitely. I feel like I've always been a contemporary singer first before anything. I grew up singing in church. So that's a very free, you don't learn how to sing. It's almost been a very spiritual thing singing for me. I feel like it's very beautiful and unique to the person. So I started there, and it's just very sacred to me. I feel like it's like one of my first languages, is what I say. It's like the first time I just feel really like words. We know the saying, when words fail, music speaks. And I feel like I really always understood that from a young age. And so I was always singing contemporary and, studied musical theatre at the Australian Institute of Music. And the voice is always something that I was interested in as a contemporary artist, but having also a background of musical theatre. And I thought, look, this is the time to do it. I might as well try it now. And I felt led to do it. And there are quite a few rounds of auditions before you get to the live stage of the show, live auditions. So just kept getting through, and I was like, okay, like maybe this is something that I could do. I'm like, I don't like, maybe I could win for sure, but I wasn't going there to win. I was going there to try and get something out of it as an artist and
Yeah,
grow. And because I had been established for the first few years of my career, I wasn't going, I'll do anything you want. I was like, I know who I am, but I'm here to learn and take. So I feel like I definitely have, that experience that I can then take on and give to other people and give to myself for the next gig per se. So yeah, definitely learnt a lot in a great way. Yeah.
brilliant. So then how was the journey to sort of draw you towards musical theatre realm rather than just straight singing if you started as a singer?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I grew up watching musicals. That's literally where my love and my love for them and just fascination of them grew from. My mum and I would watch them, like the classics like Sound of Music and you know, Sweet Charity. Like I would run home from school to watch like Chicago, the movie musical, and Moulin Rouge and Funny Girl. Like I loved it so much, and I thought, wow, like the first time I actually saw a musical was Wicked 10 years ago when it was here. The first time it was here. And I was in school, and we went on a school music excursion. I was maybe 16 ish. I had never seen a musical in my life, a live musical. That was expensive. Like we would go to the movies and hire the movies, but going to a musical was a really big outing for me. And I remember watching it being like, what do you mean? They sing, they act and dance at the same time? What is this? And I thought, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be up on that stage and do it for me and for all the other little girls that have never seen themselves on stage. So that's kind of where I thought, no, I can do this. And because I was graduating school, I thought I actually really need to think about what I'm going to do next, even though I knew I wanted to sing and perform. But I thought, okay, like I might as well audition for some schools. And so I auditioned only for AIM, the contemporary musical theatre course. And I got into both. And I thought, okay, which one should I do? Musical theatre, there were three sort of parts of the audition. There was singing, acting, and dancing, whereas the contemporary was singing, two contrasting songs. They're hard in their own way, but I thought musical theatre, this is harder, and I'm going with the harder trajectory. Like, I like a challenge. So I picked musical theatre, and that was about 2.5-ish years. And yeah, I learnt a lot there, and the work ethic was instilled in us, definitely, with the hours, with it was very performance based, but it's also some theory, which I'm just, I sight read and I do what I have to do, but I can't teach. I'm not going to teach you how to, play an instrument. Let's just say that. So, yeah, I learned so much, and I was there to perform and learn, that skill more so than anything. And I feel like that really helped me. And then since graduating 2016, I was like, I'm going to audition for musicals. That's what I'm going to do. I had no agent. And I thought, okay, like I don't really know what to do, but I just fly by the seat of my pants and just kept on keeping on. And then around 10 months to a year after I graduated, a few months before that, I was auditioning for quite some time. It was The Bodyguard that came up, and I was like, oh, I don't have an agent, but I'm going to email myself and apply and send videos, go in, and I was on hold for like 7 weeks, and anyway, I ended up booking it, and that was my first gig, and that was 2017 out of AIM. So then I thought, oh man, like musicals, this is something that I want to do, and I actually think I can do, because you have this sort of thing once you graduate, you go, okay, like now we're in the big bad world. Like, how can I really do this? So that's when I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Even though I always knew I could, it's very different when you are able to work in your field. That's just such a blessing.
Yeah, you just need that one tick of approval from somebody that goes, okay, yeah, I actually belong in
Yeah.
this space.
Totally. And I kind of hate that because, like, we can all, waiting, like, it's auditioning is such an interesting thing. Like, I feel like we need a whole podcast on this, but like, look, it's so subjective, and auditioning and who you are as an artist is so subjective. Obviously, you've got a skill set and those other things, and people will always be better than you at things or not as experienced, whatever it is, but putting your like future in someone else's hands for them to go yes or no. Oh, I don't know. That's a hard one, isn't it? So like, even though I still do it all the time, it's the nature of the game. But it's one of those things that you go, just as it's wrapping my head around that is an interesting thought, outside of actually doing it.
Yep. And you mentioned that experience of going to your first musical theatre experience. I had a similar thing where I walked into a theatre for the first time. I was like, this is actually incredible, and I think it's a shame that more kids don't get exposed to it earlier, just because it is for a big show like In the Heights or Hamilton or something like that. It can be an expensive night out for a family.
Totally,
So yeah,
totally. I agree with you 100%, and that's why when we did have the musical like excursion where we went to see Wicked, it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so amazing. I'm so bougie, and I feel like, yeah, the accessibility for families, for kids, for different communities. Yeah, we need to keep working on bringing those everybody into the theatre, because everyone is welcome. So, yeah, I completely agree with you. But there's nothing quite like theatre. I was recently in New York City a couple of weeks ago. I was there with my partner, and we just saw, first time, and we saw Broadway for the first time. We saw like a crazy amount of shows in like a week, like 9 shows or something. And it was just It was so beautiful. It was just so, it inspired me so, so much. And oh, we actually went to Washington Heights, where In the Heights is based, in the beautiful, vibrant city of Washington Heights. So that was something else. But I agree, like being able to have that experience as a young girl and realizing that there's nothing like theatre between you and the audience just can unlock so much within a young person. So I agree. Yeah.
So then, as we turn our focus to In the Heights, when did you sort of first discover this story?
At uni, I discovered it. I came across a song "Breathe" that the character Nina sings, and I learned it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's Spanish, and it's a Latin role." Like, my goodness, hello! This is so me, and so I would sing that song for some assessments, or I put it in my recital because it's like graduating recital. We had to put together when we were graduating. So I did that, and I just fell in love with the show. And at that point, like there was Spotify and stuff, so I was listening to that, but like scores and stuff, you had to go to the library and like borrow them, and like sheet music. It was it was a bit of a different process back then. It was just like I'd never got my hand on sheet music before, and I was always at the library just like getting the score and photocopying it, and just learning, and in Spanish and English. And I mean, music is a universal language, but it blew my mind how different it was. It's a groundbreaking musical. It's Lin's incredible debut musical, which I think took him, he said, 7 years to make, which is just, I think it's my favorite, if I am biased. But he wrote other incredible musicals like Hamilton, Encanto, Moana, so it's just, there's something so beautiful and familiar there. So, but that's where I discovered In the Heights. And then I actually did an AIM alumni production of In the Heights, and it was 2016. Yeah, it was a couple months after we graduated. They did like a pro-am production at AIM, the old campus, and I played Vanessa there. That was the first. I actually auditioned for Nina.
Mhm.
And then they said, "Oh, like we'd love to offer you the role of Vanessa." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I did more research on her, and then I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is so me." How funny that they saw that. And that was the first time I actually did Vanessa in like 2016. So this right now is like the fourth time lucky that I'm able to do this show, like years later. So
And in the same
I
role.
know, same role. Like it just doesn't happen often. So I'm very, very grateful.
With this being sort of a repeat performance of this character, how have you sort of seen in yourself changes in your performance and how you portray the character?
For sure. Like when I started, I mean, I was maybe 21 when I first did it, and then the Haze I was 22. Year after, we had return season to Wang in the Opera House. I was 23, and now I'm 28. So I'm from a young girl to now a young woman. Like my life lens and my experiences have obviously changed. So I'm able to rehash old things and themes that still stand for Vanessa, but also add new ones in as I've grown. So she's grown too, and new experiences. And I think just I love her tenacity, being able to, she will do it. And I think and then it goes back to my kind of movies
Mhm.
where I watch, and it just like that, it all, I'm sure, comes together. There's a good connection there. But she fights. She's a fighter, she's a dreamer, but she's also a realist. And she's very loyal, will do anything for her family. But she said, no, I need to go out. I need that, because I didn't have that opportunity. I'm going to make that and create that opportunity for myself. But I won't give too much away. But by the end of it, she realizes that she's right where she belongs, which is in here, and home is where the heart is. And I really related to Vanessa because she, to me, is a first generation American, Latino woman, and I'm first generation Australian. So both my parents are migrants to Australia, and my father is Greek and my mother is Chilena. So having that feeling of, oh, where do I belong? Where do I fit? I need to make sure I have both of my traditions passed down to my family. But I also, it's a new way of living, speaking the languages. There are all of these things that I feel like I connect so well to Vanessa. And I read the script and I was like, there's so much unsaid here that I feel like I know what it is, what her context is, what her story is. So yeah, I'm able, it's like almost like therapy. It's almost like finding the journey of Vanessa every time I've done it helps me answers questions that I have in my life. So yeah, she's great. She's fun. She's sassy. She helps me be like unapologetic and just, you know, family orientated. And family is also chosen family because, you know, she doesn't have the best relationship with her mother that it touches on very briefly in the script. But she has, you know, the ladies at the salon and other people, which I won't give away, but that are just her family. So, and I love that. I love that.
Are you a trading card collector or a fan of Australian pro wrestling? If so, you're not going to want to miss out on the limited edition Australian wrestling cards. Each set includes 50 packs of 10 cards, including some of the country's top wrestling talents like Robbie Eagles, Shane Haste, Madison Eagles, Hartley Jackson, and they have Shaza McKenzie listed, although she is not a favorite. The velocities, and a lot more. There's wrestlers, referees, announcers, commentators that are featured, giving you a full appreciation of the Australian independent scene. The cards sold out a lot faster because cards are hot right now, as I'm sure Jeremy Lambert will tell you. But you can order your Australian wrestling cards now at Pario Magazine. That's PARIO magazine.com.au/AUS WRES cards. Follow Australian Wrestling Cards on social media at AusResCards for updates. Join the hundreds of fans who have already discovered the excitement of Australian wrestling cards.
With the shows that are being set in Washington Heights in New York and it being about sort of the Latin culture, why do you feel In the Heights now resonates with Sydney audiences and Australian audiences?
Look, I feel like it's always needed it, but I feel like 2024, it's, I feel like there's been so much education, so much openness about moving forward and learning about authentic casting, about respecting different cultures. And we are such a multicultural country. And, you know, we have been for a very long time. So it's so important to keep that, the story, the Australian production of this story through the Australian lens, because this Australian audience is coming to watch it. So we have it, it's about the Latin diaspora through the Australian lens. So, but we have mainly a Latin cast, which is incredible. And there was a casting consultant and casting director on the team that made sure of that. And we also have some other incredible ethnicities and people of different cultural backgrounds in the cast too, because it is through the Australian lens. So it's yeah, it's, I think Sydney needs it. I think Australia needs it, and we should do a great big tour. But Sydney, I think are gonna eat it up because yes, it is a story about the Latin culture through songs, through scenes, through dance, like salsa, merengue, you know, bachata. But it's also about a story about celebration and hope and belonging, which is a universal story. So anyone who watches this, no matter where you're from in Australia, in the world, your background, age, gender, you can relate to something in this story. If not all of it, you know, and also you can learn about the different cultures and different ways, but I guarantee everyone knows, a Usnavi in their life, or a Vanessa or a Camila or a Kevin, who are the parents, it's like, oh my gosh, I know that's my auntie, or that's my mom, or whatever it is. And it's a very special show. It was done years ago. I think 2008 was the first time it was done on Broadway. And years later, it still stands. It's honestly a timeless piece. And I feel like you can't say that about a lot of musical theatre shows.
Yep.
But this one still stands.
That's a
You know?
trend of Lin-Manuel Miranda's works. They all seem quite timeless.
Absolutely. It's really, he's a genius, and I think is ahead of his time.
Yep.
Ahead of his time. So, yeah, definitely made history with all of his works. And to feel represented on stage as well, like to be able to tell this story on a main stage in Australia is huge. And I feel like it's time for people to see that and just take it all in and come with us. You're invited into the heart of Washington Heights. And even though it is set in America, again, it's a universal story. So we're in Australia, but we're taking all of it and being like, here it is for everybody. Everyone's welcome. And that's a very special feeling.
And I think, like, personally, I rewatched John M. Chu's adaptation over the weekend. And I think one of the other themes that stood out to me was the idea of gentrification. And that just seems incredibly poignant for Sydney at the moment as well.
Absolutely. 100%. I loved the movie as well. Done years after the musical. And I feel like if the movie were to be done now, 5 years, it was 2019 or 20, something like that. It would be a bit different now. So like, we're always like adding and growing, and gentrification, it's an ongoing thing. So I agree with you, and I thought it was so beautiful. I mean, it's a different medium. So being able to, like, see characters, one of the things in the movies is Vanessa she's a fashion designer, and she wants to pursue that career path, and the way that it won't be long now, and she sees all the beautiful colors and vibrancies of the fabrics and everything, and it's just so beautiful. I'm like, wow, that's something that it'd be translated different on stage, if we were to do that. So the fact that we have the stage version and the film adaptation is so, how lucky are we, because that's also accessible for people. You go on Disney Plus and you pop the movie on. If I haven't been able to see the show. When I didn't see it on Broadway, and I've been lucky to be in it whenever it's been here in Sydney. So, but I get to watch the movies.
Yeah, it's
so
good
it's
to get
like
that opposite perspective of, instead of being in it, you're an audience member for a change.
Totally. One day I'll watch it. I'm sure it'll make its return to Broadway or something like that. And if I'm not in it, I'll watch it and I'll love it. So yeah.
One question I did have with the different adaptations, how does the pool scene play out in the opera house? Because I can't imagine you're allowed to sort of splash water around such an iconic venue.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's not unfortunately, but it's just different. But there is no pool scene in the stage adaptation. That was taken, and they made it. They changed it for the movie, so that was really cool. When I watched it, I was like, "Oh wow, okay, there's a pool scene." 96,000, yeah, 96,000. So it's done vastly, like, it's different. Of course, there's no pool, but the explosion and the excitement and the energy is the same.
Okay.
It's just one of those numbers that you go, whoa, and it's just, yeah, it just keeps topping itself. And even though it's different, it's amazing. Yeah, the people the cast that we have are just amazing, and everyone has such an eye for detail, such an incredible vision of the show in every aspect and every area. So, but there's no Paul scene, but you must come watch it because 96,000 is probably one of my favorite numbers as well. It's so amazing. The different dancing and the lighting, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's a great selling point for people to come along to this show. If you've already seen the movie, this is a different
Yeah.
beast all of its own.
Yes, totally, totally. But it still stands, which is great. So yeah, you just have to come watch the show.
And then it's a great time in Sydney for Lin-Manuel Miranda fans as well, with Hamilton also returning to the Lyric Theatre on the other side of town at the same
Yes.
time. What would you people sitting on the fence about coming to, like, Hamilton, or preferably for you guys, in the Heights?
I would say if you can, do both. Because I'm all about watching something so that way you can have your own opinion and experience of it as opposed to hearing what people say. Obviously, of course, that helps, like this. But if you can do both, because they are different, even though there's hip hop in both shows and rap, it is, yeah, they're just different, but they're also similar in a way. And we're also only at the Opera House for like less than a quarter of the time that Hamilton are. So like you must come to In the Heights first. And then you got time to go to Hamilton, and save some money or go. I'm sure maybe there's a lottery for Hamilton or other things you can do. I'm not sure what In the Heights will offer, but we're also like there for 4.5, maybe 5-ish weeks. So
And it's the Opera House. Like, how can you say no to going to a show at the Opera House?
totally. It's at the Amazing Drama Theatre in the Opera House. And what I love about it, the Haze when we did it was a very intimate space, very intimate setting. And when we did it at the Opera House 2019, a year after, it was at the concert hall at the Opera House, which was huge. So this one is kind of like a beautiful balance of both. It's intimate, yet it's still got that grandiose theatrical experience. So I feel like it's the perfect theatre for it, where you can be in the world, but you're also, wow, I get to experience it and see it. So yeah, definitely come to In the Heights and Hamilton. They're both amazing shows. But I don't know, Hamilton, I mean, In the Heights is also about Lin. It's very close to his story, he did say. So that you feel almost a bit more connected to him and his writing and his legacy that he's left. And then you get to see, Hamilton, which is something else that he wrote. So yeah, come to the Heights first, then go see Hamilton, and like you're great. You'll be fine. You'll be great.
Yeah, spoiled for choice at the moment.
Totally, exactly.
Alrighty, so then as we close out, where is the best place for people to track your creative journey and follow you moving forward?
Yes, well, you can follow me on Instagram. So Olivia_Claire_Vasquez. And I also have a business Facebook page with the same name. You can also follow me on Spotify or Apple Music, whatever your flavor is, whatever your go-to is, as I have my EP out, my debut EP called Godly Ties. And you can find my EP on that and find me on Instagram. I'm an Instagram gal, so I just post pretty much anything and everything on Instagram that I'm doing that is coming out or that I'm working on. Yeah, so find me on Instagram and we can connect.
Yep, get some little potential sneak peeks of what's happening in the rehearsal process
Absolutely.
and everything.
There already some up on my story. I know that this will be later released, but I'm gonna make sure that within the Heights especially, I'm gonna give the people what they want, like keep on posting about it because it does get people excited. I love it. I'm in the theater world, but I love seeing, other shows and other people with their highlights and seeing, oh wow, they did this show and going through their highlight reel and just seeing that journey of their theater experience. I really love it because I am a theater nerd. So yeah, I will try and make sure I do the same so that way people can sort of see it and get excited about it.
Wonderful. And yeah, you're co-starring with a previous guest of mine, Ryan Gonzalez as well. So it's very cool to see
Yes,
the worlds that are crossing
very
paths.
cool. Absolutely, and we were able to do Moulin Rouge together for a couple of years, a year ago or something like that. So that's very special too. So we just keep bumping into each other.
Perfect. Alrighty, I will let you get back to it, but for everyone else, you can get tickets at the Sydney Opera House website.
Yes, you can. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to the Commentary Booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow me on social media at Jamie Apps Media and at Pario Magazine. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Apps Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Apps Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.